Hello everyone, I'm back. However, I'm going to say goodbye very soon. I thought I would be able to come back 2 weeks ago, while I'm still recording this show that was supposed to be released 2 weeks ago. I'm so sorry about that, but there has been a lot going on recently for me. So after this comeback kind of episode, I will have to suspend the show for 10 weeks at least. But I will tell you when I will come back. Today we're going to talk about crime thrillers or horrors in general. I don't really talk about horrors, I don't really watch horrors. But the movies that we're going to talk about today, most of them I've watched myself. So don't worry about it. They're not that scary. Let's start with the first new movie we're going to talk about. A Place Called Silence. Chen Yutong, a girls' middle school student, was bullied at school, but her mother, Li Han, was unable to save her daughter from the hell. Everyone around her turned a blind eye, and a collective silence brewed greater violence. The first new movie we're going to talk about today is a Taiwanese movie. And what's interesting about that is that there's another movie with the same name, same director that was released in China. I forget whether it was last year or 2 years ago. So at first, when I was going to watch this movie, I thought it's a Chinese movie, but it turned out to be a Taiwanese one. This is very interesting because this movie that's released in Taiwan was actually produced first. But after their production, the leading actor had some Me Too issue. So the publisher decided to postpone the release. However, Chinese publisher thought that, oh, this is a really good screenplay. They bought the royalty and hired the same director to produce a movie with the same name. That's a really interesting arrangement. But anyway, this original version was finally released. It's based on the true story. It talks about bystander effect or just silence in general to raise the awareness of whether silence could cause all the crimes in the society. I would say that almost all of the main actors and actresses broke their own bandages. They displayed that weakness, helpless, and pervert or crazy are just one split second difference. In this movie, we will see how the characters reveal the suspense, and we will see how bully becomes a norm, and we will see doubts over religions, whether truth can be like a hammer to break human beings' stubbornness. For some people, it would be revenge. They want revenge so much that they even forget about guilt anymore. And that explodes the violence and the silence. So we will see the limits in this movie. It's very powerful, very shocking, but at the same time, very sad. And now let's move on to the second new movie we're going to talk about today. The Substance. On the day that the actress Elizabeth Sparkle is 50 years old, her former successful career downfalls and the producer Harvey call her show off, telling her that he needs a new face on TV. The upset Elizabeth drives home and is distracted by the removal of the billboard of her TV show and is hit by a truck. She wakes up in the hospital and the male nurse gives a flash drive to her with the title The Substance. When she arrives home, she watches the video about a substance that will split her in two, with a more perfect and beautiful younger version of her. But there is a rule. Their time will be shared, and they will not coexist. 1 week, Elizabeth lives. The other week, her new version lives without exception. In principle reluctant, Elizabeth decides to use the substance. She generates a gorgeous woman that goes to the audition to be the substitute for Elizabeth's show. When they ask her name, she says Sue and is immediately hired by Harvey. Elizabeth and Sue live 7 days each in principle, taking care of the dormant one, feeding each other in accordance with the rules. But although being just one, the washed-up Elizabeth feels jealous of Sue's success, while her younger version wants to live more than 7 days to enjoy life. Soon, their feelings bring tragic consequences.
You can't escape from yourself.
The second new movie we're going to talk about today is a Hollywood one. It's also a horror, and it's even a body horror. But more important is that it's actually a psychological horror. It talks about some very serious social issues. First of all, let's tell you how great this movie is. It won the audience pick at 2024 Toronto Film Festival. It's directed by the director of Revenge, Coralie Fargett, and she also did the screenplay, which won the Best Screenplay at Venice Film Festival. It was starred by Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley, and Dennis Quaid. So you can see it's a splendid cast. As we heard from the introduction, we know that this movie digs into how the old self and young self are going to coexist together. Would it be a stronger war over body dysmorphic disorder? Or she has to continue to meet up the population's expectation of beauty. So you can see it's going to be a fight between the two selves. I wouldn't say this is spoiler because I think you can tell from the poster. Basically, Demi Moore was naked in the movie for many times, and this is one of her most naked, physically and mentally, movies she's ever made. She demonstrated the craziness of addiction to disfigure very much. People say that this is her best work in her career. Media even predicted that she would be nominated as the best leading actress of the Oscars with this movie. And she herself said that deciding to play in this movie is a challenge and it's also a gamble because this movie is so crazy. Only director Coralie Fargett can take care of this story. She really makes this movie a splendid perfection. As a person who's seen this movie myself, I have to say that this is really great. But if you're not able to take body horror, don't try. When I watched it, there were some people leave the movie theater earlier than they're supposed to be. Since the show has been suspended for a long time, before we move on to Top 007, it's our routine to review what we had last week. We had 2 top 3s, Beetlejuice, and Weekend in Taipei. There were also 2 top 2s, Joker, Folly Ado, and The Wild Robot. Top 1 was Transformers 1. I thought this would be a really great week to come back because there's some new faces on the chart, but so bad that I'll have to say goodbye after this episode for a while. But anyway, let's listen to top 7 to top 4. Top 6, Speak No Evil.
Something's not right with him.
He has a condition. It makes it hard for me.
Weekend in Taipei.
Everyone, shut up and let me drive.
Joey, it's been 15 years.
Top 5, High Forces.
喜欢当英雄啊！
你这样
Top 4, Beetlejuice.
Who's Beetlejuice?
Don't ever say that name.
Beetlejuice.
As I mentioned in the beginning, I wanted to talk about crime thrillers. So from top 7 to top 4, we have 3 movies that fall into this category. But Beetlejuice is also a horror kind of movie. So let's just go through all of them a little bit. First of all, Speak No Evil. It's that kind of horror that will make you have goosebumps. And I think the story is pretty clever, but prepare yourself for the fear. Next, Weekend in Taipei. This is the movie that director Lu Besson filmed in Taipei, but apparently it wasn't critically acclaimed. If you like Fast and Furious kind of movie, or you like the actor and actress, then maybe it would be good to watch Weekend in Taipei. Otherwise, it's probably not worth watching. Top 5 High Forces, starred by Andy Lau. I've seen this movie myself, so this was the movie that I was going to talk about for this full section originally. But this really isn't a great movie either. So let me just tell you what's the good part about this movie. It's starred by Andy Lau, and basically he's the Asian Tom Cruise. So as long as he's able to do it, he did all the stunts himself, and that's pretty amazing. He's more than 60 years old now. Last but not least, Beetlejuice. It's a horror, and I think it's still pretty trending in the US, but it's going to leave the theater in Taiwan. Maybe Taiwanese people just don't have a connection to Beetlejuice, but it's Halloween coming, right? So it's really trending in the US. And it's time for us to move on to top 3 to top 1. Top 3, My Dearest 福宝.
사랑의 북바오.
Top 2, The Wild Robot.
Sometimes to survive, we must become more than we
Top 1, Joker, Fully Adult.
How about you, Arthur? Do you still think you're a star?
Okay, I know the theme today is crime thriller. So from top 3 to top 1, we should talk about Joker Fully Adult. But one thing is that it's really not a great movie. Also, there is a movie that if I don't talk about it, I will regret. It's The Wild Robot. I haven't seen it, but I really want to watch it. First of all, when the author of the original novel, Peter Brown, was going to write this book, he specifically did research on animal behaviors, robots, and artificial intelligence. Therefore, he found that animals and robots have many things in common, and that inspired him to draw and write this work. As for the director, Chris Sanders, he read this novel because it was his daughter's school homework, and he was really impressed by the details and depth in the novel. The purity and sincerity also touched him a lot. He believes that a closer, quieter moment can resonate with people. From the very beginning, the crew wanted to create a Miyazaki Hayao kind of forest drawn by Monet. They wanted to break the boundage of story description and art performance. The director and the producer decided to create complicated and unique visual images because they think that CGI is everywhere nowadays, yes, but they think CGI will sacrifice the complicated details and the feelings that you can get from hand drawing. In order to make the images show power, poetry, and elegance, the crew went back to look at the recent works of DreamWorks, the early classic works of Disney, and the movies of Miyazaki Hayao to look at the forest with a special atmosphere to get some inspiration. Many people think that animations are for kids, but The Wild Robot is one that kids can enjoy, but adults can enjoy as well. So if you're not a horror movie lover and you're wondering what movie to watch this coming weekend, I highly recommend you to watch The Wild Robot. Although I haven't seen it myself, I really want to watch it. I really hope I can have time to catch up with work and go watch this movie. And that's all the time we have for today. I'm sad to say goodbye for now, but keep an eye on our fan page and I will tell you when the podcast will come back. See you next time.